Hey OGs, welcome back to On God with me, Wilhelmina Simono, mindful, heartful, and purposeful conversations, honey. If it's your first time here, you just stumbled over a community of believers who are doing life with Christ one stumble at a time. And if you've been with me since episode number uno, you know I super duper, uber duper, luba duper appreciate you, and thank you so much for holding space for me as I have been holding so much space for you. First things first, I would like to apologize for the radio silence last week, you guys. When I say I couldn't get my mind back to myself, I mean I couldn't get my mind back to myself. So last week Friday I had a bit of a nervous breakdown. Um like everything just 1 minute was okay and then the next it was not, and I fell apart. And I really, really fell apart. And I think into Friday evening, Saturday, the whole day, Sunday, I really tried getting my mind back to myself and I couldn't. I had to take an emergency leave, you know what I mean? Because I just couldn't get my mind back to myself. And it was just really genuinely a lot. I think you don't know just how not okay you are until you just like in the bathroom floor, on the bathroom floor, begging your mind to just keep it together for 5 minutes. Like in that moment, you're just appreciating all the times where you were sane, all the times where nothing triggered you, because from Friday, everything triggered me. You know what I mean? So much so that I even went offline. I think a bulk of this week. I only got back online on Thursday when I went back to work, because also like my line of work is just one of those where the team talks on WhatsApp, you find inspo on the internet. So I was offline, and for those 5 days, 6 days, it was really a battle to get myself back to myself, praying, crying. Guys, I from Friday, I was just crying. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday, it's like I can't stay in the house forever. So Wednesday, I was able to doll up and just meet up with a friend and just giggles and laughs and everything. You know, tried squeezing in dinner on Friday with my other friends. So it was like really a good 6 days of being alone and feeling what I needed to feel. And when I say I was crying every minute, you guys, I mean it. Like I couldn't hold a conversation for 3 minutes with anyone on the phone and just be normal. Like it would just end in tears, and I didn't know why, but I just trusted that I needed to do it. I trusted that I needed to go through it. I needed to cry. I needed to feel whatever it is that I needed to feel. So um thank God my eyes is not puffy. But woo, you should see me on Thursday back at work with them shades on, baby. But I trust that I needed to go through that. I trust that I needed to go through that. And also, it is so crazy because the episode that was supposed to go live last week um is so much in tune with what I went through, because there was a time where I really was just like, oh, the devil must be trying me, but when I took time out, sometimes you gotta walk out the maze and really assess what's going on. And I realized that it was never the devil. It was never the devil. um you know what I mean? So I think maybe the topic was also very spot on. So let's get into today's episode. Before we get into today's episode, I'm feeling a bit fluey. So if sekgowa se tswa ka dinko more than usual, I don't know what to tell you. So if sekgowa se hwe, just work with me. I'm really, really feeling fluey. But yes, today's topic, is it a spiritual attack or do you lack the discipline, is something that honestly I'm talking back to myself. And I think every time someone comments on any of the clips that I put up and they're like, oh my gosh, you are dragging me, I'm like, baby, before I dragged you, I dragged myself. So today's topic is also one of those where it is me looking in the mirror talking to myself, wherein as a believer, or even if you're not a believer like that, we are very quick to blame the devil for everything. Like, oh, the devil is attacking my finances, the devil is attacking my peace, the devil is attacking my relationship, the devil is attacking my career, my success, or whatever the case is, right? And while I don't want us to be ignorant to the fact that spiritual warfare is real, it's out there, the devil works 24/7, right? I don't want us to be ignorant of that fact, but I also want us to be very cognizant of the fact that sometimes we do play a role in what we might deem or call a spiritual attack, a spiritual warfare, right? Which begs the question, is it spiritual warfare? Is it spiritual attack? Or is it your lack of discipline? Is it your lack of discernment? Is it your lack of knowledge and wisdom to change your ways, right? Might I present to us, OGs, that sometimes the cycles we find ourselves in, the frustrations that we find ourselves stuck in, may not have anything to do with the devil, but may have everything to do with our lack of obedience, our lack of discipline, um, and our overall complacency when it comes to issues of the heart, when it comes to issues of the mind, when it comes to issues of our spiritual walk with God, right? And just before we dive and dwell deep into this, just to give it a bit of context, I'm just gonna explain the difference between the discipline part and where spiritual attack comes from, right? So we know spiritual attack is external resistance from the enemy to derail you, right? The book of Ephesians chapter 6:12 says, Ephesians 6. And the book of Ephesians, chapter 6:12 tells us, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So we know a spiritual attack, it's external principalities. It is the rulers of the kingdom of darkness. That's what we mean when we talk about having a spiritual attack, the external resistance from the devil through this particular rulers of the kingdom of darkness and the wickedness and all of that. But when we talk about a lack of discipline, we are talking about the internal neglect of God's instruction concerning your life, concerning an area of your life, whether it's finances, whether it's relationship, whether it's health, whatever it may be, right? Proverbs chapter 5:23 also supports this particular narrative, right? Where it says, he shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly, he shall go astray. Some versions say he shall die because of a lack of discipline, right? So all of this is just to put into context to say, where in the areas of our lives are we saying we are being spiritually attacked, when really it's just a lack of discipline on our end? And especially as we'll be entering a new season right now, or we're already in a new season, September, spring, blossoming things. We might be praying for newness. We might be praying for new chapters, new relationship, new financial goals, new breakthroughs, right? We might be praying for some of the things that we've been praying for in previous seasons of our lives. And with every unanswered prayer, whether it's the breakthrough, the finance, whatever the case may be, with every unanswered prayer, we might feel like there is an external dark power that is holding us back, that there is an external force hard at work, making sure that as we enter into these new seasons, we also don't get to experience the new things that we've been praying to God for, right? But I want to challenge us to quickly, investigate the role we play in our own delays, the role we play in our lack of progress, the role we play in our unanswered prayers, right? Because you could be getting a new job every 6 months, you could be getting side gigs every 3 months, you could be getting this and that, but yet your financial situation is not changing. It's not as an attack, it's your spending habits that you need to look at. You could have all these great ideas, these dreams, these visions about what you want to do, what you do not want to do, and you're wondering why you're not getting a breakthrough in terms of opportunities presenting themselves. But you have to look at your work ethic. What are you doing to make sure that the opportunities are made available to you? It would have been impossible for Moses to dream about parting the Red Sea if he's not standing in front of the Red Sea. God orders the steps that we take. He doesn't order the steps that we are just chilling on. So, more than anything, this episode, I think we're going to be talking about accountability. We're going to talk about accountability, about how your finances are the way they are because you don't want to take accountability for your spending habits. That you are where you were still in your career 3 years ago because you're not willing to learn new things. We see it in the book of Exodus, right? That the Israelites definitely got a promise from God about the land of milk and honey. And what should have taken them 11 days took them 40 years. And for them to want to call it a spiritual attack would be a shame because they are unaware of the grumbling and the disobedience. They're creating their own gods on the way to the promised land, right? We look at Samson. His downfall was not the enemy. It was his willingness to continue to walk in disobedience, compromising on the love and gift and favor of God, where he found himself chasing after Delilah. So sometimes the seasons we find ourselves in are not because the enemy is hard at work, but it's because of the continuous decisions we make to walk in disobedience. That sometimes the seasons and the cycles we find ourselves in, we stay in them much longer than we should because of the disobedience, because of the lack of discipline. I don't think God could have shifted you from a certain tax bracket and put you in another for vibes. Where is the discipline? And when I opened earlier and I was just explaining why I'm saying, last week me going through all of that was, at some point I was like, oh my goodness, the enemy is hard at work. The enemy is hard at work. Why am I having a mental breakdown? Why am I falling apart? Why am I not able, to just get my mind back to myself? And while it was very tempting to want to point a picture at the enemy, God was just there, was like, but you don't meditate anymore. Your mind is always racing. Your mind is always racing. Your mind is always in the future. You keep pouring into other people. You're not pouring back into yourself. You work and you churn and you churn. If you're not doing your 9 to 5, you are working on your side business. If you're not working on your side business, you are working on the podcast. If you're not working on the podcast, baby, you're showing up to be the best friend you can be, the best daughter you can be, the best mother you can be. Where is rest in all of that? You overconsume the things on social media. You overconsume Netflix and Disney and Showmax and all of that. And then you think you are not going to crack? We need to acknowledge the role we play in our own downfall, in our own stagnation in our lives. Which area of your life do you call it spiritual attack when really all it is a lack of discipline? Pastor Mike Todd gave such a beautiful example in his sermon series. I forgot the name, where he was talking about how you can't keep saying, oh, diabetes is back. I don't know if it can go and come back, but I think he used it in that context where he was like, oh, the diabetes, it keeps getting worse, but you are there on Uber Eats. You are there, with them fast food. Not once can you squeeze in a broccoli on your dinner plate. The doctors are telling you there's something wrong with your liver, there's something wrong with your kidney, there's something wrong, but you won't put that bottle down, will you? A lack of discipline. And you want to label it a spiritual attack. We can also talk about relationships as well. Why do you keep attracting the same people? The same verbally abusive people, the same people that hold you back, the same people that don't breathe life into you, and you're wondering why am I not getting married? Why am I not doing this? Boo boo. If God tells you your man is in the church, what are you doing looking for a man in the club? Of course, he's going to want to have sex before marriage. Of course, he's going to be very verbally abusive with you when he's under the influence. Of course, he won't subscribe to the idea of marriage because he thinks that's going to lock him down. There are certain habits that are within us that are holding us back. It's Samson. Samson never could pass up a skirt. Now, could he? And look what the skirt did at the end. Delilah cut off his hair. We need to be careful to be complacent in habits that we're going to spend the rest of our lives labeling as a demonic attack. The devil's probably there's like, what did I do? What did I do? You have the business idea. It's not going the way it should be. What role are you playing in that? Your finances are not where you want them to be. What role are you playing in that? Your relationships are not flourishing the way they should be. What role are you playing in that? The devil is forever on sabbatical because, honey, we are out here doing his job for him through lack of discernment, lack of discipline, lack of obedience. So if there's anything I want you to take away from today's episode is to know that not everything is an attack. It's a lesson. And some lessons last longer than they should because of your lack of obedience, lack of discipline, lack of discernment. Disobedience does delay destiny. You can preach all you want, delayed is not denied, delayed is not denied, but where is the discipline? Where is the discipline? Because, baby, you will sing that for the rest of your life for as long as you don't have the discipline to back it up. Grace covers you, but discipline keeps you. Grace is there to make sure in the falling, you get back up. In the mistakes, you get back up. But discipline gets you back up. Discipline keeps you moving. Discipline changes the trajectory of the story. The enemy attacks progress, but discipline builds it. And the enemy can only win so many times. You need to ask yourself, I've been trying to change my finances for the past 3 years. What's happening? Why is it not coming? The enemy can only win so many times. It's not that God doesn't want us all to be financially comfortable. It's not that God doesn't want us to be in healthy relationships. He doesn't want the visions that he's shown us in the secret place to come to life. Because they are written and appointed for a time. But if there's so much stagnation in your life, I want you to know, one, the devil is really not that strong or smart. So it's time to look at the role you play. So family, try not to get stuck blaming the demons and the devil for doors that disobedience has closed. We need to be cautious of that. Because like I said, the enemy may tempt you, he may try you, but he just doesn't have the power to keep you there. And for the storms that are sent by God, the attacks that are sent by God, they are also not meant to keep you there. But in your ill discipline, in your lack of obedience, you stay there longer than you should. The attacks from God are there to discipline us, not to destroy us. But if you lack the discipline, you stay there longer than you should. Jonah could have stayed in the belly of the fish for as long as it takes if he didn't take the time to ponder and think about the role he played in the delay of his destiny. It's important that we start seeing the difference between the spiritual attack and the lack of discipline. Because sometimes we end up rebuking the storms that God has sent in order to build us and to grow us. Here walks in a toxic man. Oh, the devil is a liar. No, you are. You are. Sometimes God sends that relationship to remind you that you're not ready. You're not ready. Be careful to rebuke what God has sent to refine you. And that is why we are encouraged to practice our discernment. Only through discernment and the grace of God can you be able to tell that this is a God attack. And that's all I have for you this week, family. As you are out there going through whatever you are going through, be very sensitive to where is it that the devil is attacking and where is it that God is refining. But otherwise, stay mindful, stay heartful, stay purposeful. Love